In February of 1981, a courtroom in Connecticut fell into stunned silence. Not because of the verdict, not because of the evidence, but because of the defense. A 19-year-old man stood accused of murder, brutally stabbing his landlord to death. There were witnesses. There was blood. There was no question that he had done it. And yet, his lawyers made a claim no American court had ever officially heard before. They did not plead insanity. They did not plead self-defense. They said something far more terrifying. They said the devil made him do it. This was the case of Arne Cheyenne Johnson, the first murder trial in U.S. history where demonic possession was used as a legal defense. But to understand how a murder trial turned into a battle between faith, law, and the supernatural, we must go back months before the killing, to a quiet town in Connecticut, and to a boy who claimed something dark had entered his body. In 1980, the Glatzel family lived an ordinary life in Brookfield, Connecticut. Debbie Glatzel was in her early 20s, engaged to Arne Johnson, a mild-mannered tree surgeon known for his kindness and calm demeanor. Nothing about Arne suggested violence. Friends described him as gentle, soft-spoken, protective of Debbie. But Debbie's younger brother, David Glatzel, was only 11 years old, and something was very wrong with him. David began seeing things. Dark figures with twisted faces, beasts with horns, claws, and burning eyes. Creatures that threatened him, mocked him, and demanded his soul. At first, his parents thought it was nightmares. Then David began convulsing, speaking in strange voices and repeating phrases no child should know. He described a man with black eyes who smelled of sulfur, a beast that sat on his chest at night, a voice that promised death. Doctors were consulted, psychologists examined him. Nothing explained it. The episodes grew worse. David would scream for hours. He stopped sleeping, he stopped eating, and he began literally growling at his family. Desperate, the Glatzels turned to the only people who might understand: Ed and Lorraine Warren. By 1980, Ed and Lorraine Warren were already famous paranormal investigators. They had investigated haunted houses across America. They claimed experience with demonic oppression and possession. When they met David Glatzel, they believed immediately. This was not imagination. This was not illness. They believed David was possessed. Over the following weeks, multiple exorcisms were performed, some approved by the Catholic Church, others not. Priests witnessed David levitate. They heard him speak Latin. They watched him contort unnaturally. And during one exorcism, something unexpected happened. Arne Johnson was present. As David screamed and convulsed, Arne shouted something that would change everything. "Leave the boy alone. Take me instead." According to witnesses, David suddenly went calm, and Arne collapsed. From that moment on, David's symptoms improved, and Arne's life began to unravel. Almost immediately, Arne Johnson began acting different. He became withdrawn, moody, aggressive. He complained of blackouts, periods of time he couldn't remember. He described seeing the same dark figures David once saw. Friends said his eyes sometimes looked empty, cold, unrecognizable. Lorraine Warren later claimed Arne was possessed by multiple demons. But Arne refused help. He stopped attending church. He drank heavily. He became volatile. And then, on February 16th, 1981, everything exploded. That morning, Arne and Debbie were staying at the home of Alan Bono, their landlord. Bono was a heavy drinker. Arguments were common. That day, the group had been drinking heavily. An argument broke out. Accounts differ on why. Suddenly, without warning, Arne Johnson grabbed a knife. He stabbed Alan Bono 22 times. Witnesses said Arne showed no emotion, no hesitation, no fear. Afterward, he calmly placed the knife down. When police arrived, Arne did not resist. He reportedly said nothing. There was no attempt to flee. It was as if he had woken up after it was over. Arne Johnson was charged with first-degree murder. The evidence was overwhelming. Witnesses saw the killing. The weapon was found. Arne admitted he did it. But his defense team, led by attorney Martin Manella, made history. They claimed Arne Johnson was not responsible for his actions because he was demonically possessed. The courtroom erupted. This was unprecedented. The judge, Robert Callahan, ruled that demonic possession could not be used as a legal defense. There was no scientific proof, no legal precedent. The jury would not hear about demons. They would not hear about exorcisms. They would not hear from the Warrens. And yet, the story leaked to the press. Headlines exploded. "The devil made me do it." America was transfixed. Religion versus law, faith versus reason, evil versus accountability. With the supernatural defense excluded, the trial proceeded normally. The prosecution argued the truth was simple. Arne Johnson was drunk, angry, and violent. The defense argued diminished responsibility. In the end, Arne Johnson was found guilty of first-degree manslaughter. He was sentenced to 10 to 20 years in prison, but he served only 5 years. During his imprisonment, Arne was reportedly well-behaved. No violence, no incidents. After his release, he married David Glatzel. They lived quietly, avoiding the spotlight. But the question never went away. Was Arne Johnson possessed? Skeptics say alcohol, stress, and psychological issues explain everything. Believers point to witnesses, priests, medical professionals who couldn't explain David's condition. Even the judge later admitted the case disturbed him, because something about it didn't fit. A gentleman committed a savage murder. A boy was tormented and then suddenly healed. And a defense too frightening for the legal system to accept was silenced. The trial of Arne Cheyenne Johnson was not just about murder. It was about where law draws the line. The court said responsibility must rest with the individual, because if demons can be blamed, then justice collapses. But the case leaves us with a chilling truth. There are experiences science cannot fully explain, and there are shadows the legal system refuses to acknowledge. Whether you believe in demons or not, this case forces one haunting question. If evil exists, how do we prove where it comes from? And more importantly, who should pay the price when it takes control?